Welcome to the Lair of Secrets podcast, the podcast about gaming and being a geek by two 40-something geek dads. I'm Ken Newquist, and I love the outdoors. And now that the snow has melted and the proper flow of time has reasserted itself, I can actually go outside.
And I am David Moore. And after traveling 14 and a half hours through the twisting tunnels of the lair, I took a beach-cation. Beach work-cation. It was exactly what I needed, and in fact, I need another one.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and I will tell you all about it. But first, I want to hear about stuff you've done while I was stuck in a car for 14 and a half hours.
That sounds like a very long time in a car.
It is.
I've done that. I did. My friends and I, many years ago, actually not too many years ago, I think it was actually spring of 2019, drove to Florida for spring training. We watched three spring training games. So we drove 20 hours to Florida. We're there for 2 days, watched 3 games, and then drove back from Florida.
That is, wow. Yeah.
It was fantastic, but that is a very, very long car drive. And next time I will stay there for a week.
Now, you did 20 hours in one go, like switching drivers or something?
Yeah, on the way down, we did it in one go. On the way up, we actually stayed at a hotel and then broke it up into 2 separate sessions, which is really what you need to do. But we were trying to conserve time.
Right.
I mean, honestly, next time I will fly.
Right.
Hopefully next time the pandemic will be over. Like if we did it in 2022 or something, which is a possibility.
And that's why
we
did not fly was pandemic related. So, and it also gave us a chance to we're in the car shopping mode because of, well, both of our cars are older and we need a new one that's reliable for my daughter who's about to go to college and she's going to be commuting. And yeah, so we rented what we thought was a range of like size of vehicle for what we might get.
Gotcha. So I've been traveling a bit myself, but not quite so far. I continue on the trail to Philmont. So those of you who've been listening, my son and I are going to Philmont, which is in New Mexico. It is a massive scout ranch. It is this huge high adventure thing. It's going to take us 12 days of backcountry backpacking. It's going to be awesome, but we need to train. And so now that the snow has finally melted, we can actually get out and train. So that means I've been back to running. Both my son and I have been running with our crew and then individually to just kind of build up endurance, because Philmont is all about mountains. It is all about going up, going down, and then going back up again. So you really need to build up your leg strength. We haven't quite done the stairs yet. The stairs are coming. And we have a very nice set of stairs at the local college. So we will be going up and down those far more than either of us is really probably looking forward to. We've also been able to get in some camping. So I've been out twice, which is fantastic. I hadn't been camping since November, and before that, like the March before, or actually maybe, the November before. So I used to go camping every month at least. And then I went camping once every 6 months. And now we're getting back into our camping every month routine, which is really cool. And this coming weekend, I'm going to be going backpacking overnight trip. I think the whole trek's going to be like 18 miles, something like that. I think we're doing like 9 miles a day.
I would like to go camping once a year, but it's more like once every 10 at this point.
Yeah.
So,
and I got my wife is a very experienced backpacker. I'm catching up, but she's still the more experienced backpacker. And so she and I consulted, because on this trip, originally the plan was that the adult leaders would split a tent.
Okay.
But now we're doing individual tents because we've merged with a different crew that was going to Philmont. I think we've discussed this briefly before, but our crew originally had 8. We dropped down to 6. We needed to match up with another group because you need to have at least 8. So now we're 13.
Right.
And anyway, the adults that are in this new group decided we're going to do individual tents. And so I've been out enough and I know enough about my tent to realize if I have to carry my own tent, I'm a little concerned about the weight. So I have ordered a new tent, which is 1 pound and a couple ounces lighter than the normal tent that I've been backpacking with. And it's a little smaller too in terms of its footprint within the pack.
Got it.
And 1.5 pounds, or 1 pound and a couple ounces doesn't really sound that much.
That's a lot.
But
when you're
after 12 days.
Yeah. I remember when I was doing a lot more camping and some backpacking, reading about like shaving every ounce. Like people would take their toothbrush and cut most of the handle off to get rid of the handle weight. and other things along those lines. Everything was slimmed down as much as possible.
Yeah, and that's kind of at the point where I'm at, which I'm really glad we're going this year instead of last year, because it's given me the time to get to the point where I realize things are too heavy, and I need to start saving some weight. So that was cool, and just I'm really looking forward to going backpacking this weekend. But the funny thing is, you just finished editing episode 4. If we're going to the Wayback Machine, which is just about ready to get published.
Yep.
For those of you in the distant past, and in that podcast, we were talking about I was doing the 10K training routine, right? Which again was like training for Philmont, getting ready to go and everything. And as a result of that training, I started getting really tight. My knees were starting to get sore, and so I backed off because the training routine was getting too harsh. And as I started training again, getting ready for Philmont now that the snow has melted, I was starting to feel some of that same twanginess around my knees. So I'm like, I gotta stop this mess and just go and talk to the doctor about it. So he prescribed physical therapy, and so the plus side is it's nothing. The official diagnosis from the physical therapist is runner's knee, and in my case, it's not. There's no damage to any of like the soft tissue or the tendons or all the other stuff that's around your knee. It turns out I am incredibly stiff. My muscles are incredibly tight, and that just causes like this pain around your knee if you run too much, which I probably aggravated it once I started actually like running beyond the normal 3 miles and started going to like 5 and 6 miles. So the plus side is physical therapy. Great. I've done physical therapy multiple times, and it's always, I mean, in my experience, it's always been the right answer for me, because it gets you back to where you want to be, and you're working with professionals who can tell you, hey, this is how you should be moving. And so I'm already seeing good results. So if you're procrastinating for physical therapy, I wholeheartedly recommend that folks do it.
I recommend physical therapy for other reasons, which is I had back problems, and they were to such an extent where I would try to stand up out of a chair, and my back would spasm so much and so painfully that I'd have to kind of let myself fall back into the chair. And physical therapy started me on the road to recovery. It didn't fix me right away, and that's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize with physical therapy is, there's a big component of you have to keep up with it.
Indeed.
And so I had started with it. They'd done back stretches. They'd done a bunch of exercises and other things like that, and taught me a bunch of exercises. And then what really pulled me over the finish line of it was I was teaching an Angular class in Washington, D.C., and it was a 3-day class, but I had stayed there the whole week and brought the family out for an Airbnb. I might have actually mentioned this on the podcast before as well, but like those 3 days of me teaching mostly standing, because that's kind of how I teach. If I sit, it sucks my energy a bit too much, and so I was standing for most of that. But then almost every minute outside of class, we were going somewhere around Washington, D.C. And, the Spy Museum, I was never there for any of the opening times of like the monuments and such like that, but we went to we did walk through the Air and Space Museum at one point, but it was a very short walk. I don't remember. I think it was closing by the time we got there. And so, but all that walking really strengthened my core up. And so physical therapy plus that week it was very low intensity, but it was a lot of it. Working out really helped.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, it's fantastic. So I wholeheartedly recommend it. It's definitely paying dividends. It has in the past, and I knew it was the right thing to do, because at the end of the day, I do not want to injure myself trying to get ready for Philmont, and I don't want to injure myself while I'm at Philmont, because both of these things would suck. So anyway, that's the training routine going pretty well. Looking forward to doing more of it. As I've mentioned before on the podcast, Wayback Machine. My family raises seeing eye puppies, so we get puppies when they're about 7 weeks old. Theoretically, they go back to the seeing eye when they're 14 to 16 months old. Our last one went back to the seeing eye when he was like 22 months old because of the pandemic. We have a new puppy coming this Friday. It's puppy S. He is a male. We don't know what his breed is because we asked the seeing eye to hit random. So they're just going to give us, it's either going to be a German Shepherd, a Golden Retriever, or some flavor of Labrador. and his name begins with an S. So all of the puppies in the letter, their names will begin with an S, and that's all we know.
And your last puppy was Radar. Do they always begin with the next letter in the alphabet?
No, that's just a coincidence. He was actually Recon, but that's an easy mistake to make.
Right. Sorry.
No, we had Bob, then Hank. No, sorry. We had Olaf, Hank, Bob, Recon, and now whatever puppy S is. I'm shooting for Sam because I think it would be great to have a puppy named Sam. But and also I've been watching a lot of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but that's a topic for another podcast. But anyway, puppy S is coming. We're very excited. Little bundle of wagginess. So
cool.
That'll be cool.
What about Recon? Have you heard anything about how he has done?
He passed his physical and he's getting assigned to his trainer, if I remember correctly. So
that's good.
That's a good sign.
Yeah,
very good sign. And then we'll see. It takes once they're assigned to their trainer, it takes they're in training for about 4 months.
Okay.
So we've got a couple of probably I guess sometime this summer we'll hear if he's made it, and if he's made it, then we'll get to go on a town walk in Morristown, New Jersey, and actually see him again. We can't get close to him because we don't want to confuse him, but we'll be able to see him from like 50 feet away. We'll be able to trail him as he walks around Morristown doing his job, which is very, very cool to see. We haven't actually had any of our dogs make it into the program, but we've had 2 go on town walks, and they were trained to the point where they could do it. It's just they had some physical issues that prevented them from actually going into the program.
Got it.
So, but it's cool to see them actually working. Like this dog you spent a year with, and now actually seeing them do the thing is pretty impressive.
That is cool. That's very cool.
So on a gaming note, I have so much geekiness coming because of Zine Quest. So playing it all is going to be great. But on the tail end of Zine Quest, I don't actually know that this publication was part of Zine Quest. It kind of popped up in my feed. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to get this because of my lunchtime game. It's Scientific Barbarian. There are 3 issues of it. Scientific Barbarian, right? The name is awesome. It has a cover that looks like Scientific America. Was it? No, Scientific American. Right?
Yep.
Scientific American. And so they have these kind of, some of the articles in this upcoming issue are Cybernetics for the Masses, Unfamiliar Familiars for Post-Apocalyptic Games, the Broken Earth Catalog. You got your data chips in your Elixir, which is a mashup of fantasy game with post-apocalyptic content, which sounds kind of familiar.
Yep.
And a mini adventure called Holding Up the Sky, which is a far future adventure with hints of Greek mythology. It sounds really cool. I went all in. I got the 2 previous issues as well. And so I'm looking forward to these things showing up over the summer.
Yeah. I missed the Kickstarter, so you'll have to tell me when you get the PDFs or the print versions how it is, and I might go out and wrangle it up.
Yeah, it's I'm looking forward to it. And then so the other game I've actually been playing, so this was actually from Zine Quest 2020, which is Delve. So this is by Anna Blackwell, and it's not really a journaling game. It is a drawing game. And so the idea is that you are in charge of a team of dwarves, and they are delving. And occasionally they will delve too deeply, as dwarves are apt to do.
Right.
And so the idea is that you draw a grid, just a bunch of squares, and then you have a playing deck, a deck of cards, and you draw the card and you consult the game, and it tells you what shows up. So if you draw hearts, you get extra resources. If you draw diamonds, you get like materials. If you draw clubs, you encounter some weird natural feature, like it might be a cavern, it might be an underground lake, that kind of thing. And if you draw spades, it's usually something terrible or terribly interesting. So it's been a lot of fun. It's one of these things that's you just have to sit down and actually play it, right? Like I read through the book and I needed to actually just to play the game. And so I started off, I drew my first grid, got the book out, sat down with my deck of cards, got, let's see, 2 rooms in, and my dwarves were slaughtered by the Skeleton King and his minions.
2 rooms in.
2 rooms in. They didn't delve that deeply.
No.
They're all dead.
No. First, like the top level?
Top level.
Okay.
Top level, slaughtered by the Skeleton King and his skeletal minions.
All right.
So next time around, I delve, and I got 4 rooms in, and I encountered a whole bunch. I actually got to build my Dwarven barracks this time, and then I ran into what I called the green meanies, some sort of humanoid monster, which completely overwhelmed all my defenses, slaughtered all my dwarves, and he went rampaging onto the surface. And again, the dwarves did not end well for the dwarves. And then I went back and read the instructions because I felt like I was doing it wrong.
Okay.
I kept dying on the first level. And that's where I saw that Anna had addressed this and called out the fact that you shouldn't play spade cards on your first level because spades are dangerous. So, and spades will unleash hordes, skeletal kings, other terrible things.
So if you draw a spade, you just redraw?
Yeah, so the idea is, you just discard the spade and you draw a different card instead. So it gives you time to build up your resources so that your dwarves actually, maybe they have a barracks, maybe they have a temple. Like, at least you have enough resources to hire more dwarves to fight the things you're going to encounter on the deeper levels. So
nice.
With that, I am now 3 levels deep, about to go to my 4th level. I have fought 2 giant worms, probably because it's the same spade card, so I think I did something wrong. Okay. I think I drew the same card twice because I got something out of order. But that's okay. I defeated both of them. And I found a sleeping dragon, which I snuck past. And the mechanic for the sleeping dragon is that you can every turn roll a d4, and if you roll 2, 3, or 4, you steal some resources from him. But if you roll a 1, the dragon wakes up, melts the horde, and that's probably bad. It's really fun. I'll show it for David, and I can post it in the show notes.
Oh, cool! See? Very cool.
So this is my deeper map. I mean, part of it is I enjoy doodling, so it's just a fun game to kind of sit. And so what I've been doing, either in the morning or at the end of the day, is just you draw 2 or 3 cards, see what happens, sketch it out, make some notes. I've been doing a kind of a running log of what I encountered, so I know where I left off. I just keep my deck split, so facing each other, so I can see this is the discards. Right. I just throw them back into my messenger bag. So
you don't have a third giant worm thingy.
Yeah, hopefully. But it's been a lot of fun. It's pretty relaxing and pretty chill. And she has 2 other games in this series, which one I think is I know one is space themed. I can't remember.
I think there's 2 are space themed. There's one kind of colonizing a planet, I think, and then the other one is building or exploring a space station.
That sounds right.
I actually heard about it completely separate from you on the Shut Up and Sit Down podcast. They usually review board games and such, and one of the people was talking about Delve and how they had, and the way they talked about it, similar to what you just said, it sounded very much like a roguelike, and also, it was a solo game, and he said he investigated 2 or 3 areas on the first level, but then immediately started digging down, and skeletons nearly destroyed all of his dwarves, and then he found another group of something, and I don't remember what, but then the very next room found the mushrooms or something that exuded friendship, and so the evil things that he found suddenly became allies, and then the game, one of the inspirations for the game is Dwarven Fortress, which is a pretty involved, I think it's all ASCII art still, computer game, but with a whole bunch of different sort of interactions, a lot like something, I'm forgetting the other video game now, where you're on a planet and you're trying to basically have your colonists survive. But there's all sorts of weird stuff that you can do, like harvest organs and things like that.
Right. Yeah, it's exceedingly involved. One of my coworkers just likes to talk about his friend who played Dwarven Forge, because I had come across it and tried playing it, and I did not get very far into it. But he said he had a friend in college who basically he got into the game, and he didn't come out for a month. Yeah,
I'm surprised. I'm surprised just a month, sort of thing. Given the things that I've heard and read about it, so.
It's very immersive. I don't have that problem with Delve, but it is very much inspired by that style of game, and it's fun. Who doesn't like having dwarves dig too deeply? So
it's not meant to be a long playing game. It's meant to be you've got an hour or so at lunch, and you can do most of a game, from what I can tell.
Right. So what you been up to?
Yeah. So that 14.5-hour car ride. Let's talk about it. I went, my family and I went to South Carolina. We went to a place called Murrells Inlet, which is just south of Myrtle Beach. I was really worried about it because it was spring break time. And even though it's a little cooler around that time, around that latitude, I was still worried about there'd be too many crowds because my wife and I, we both have our first shot, but we do not yet have our second immunization shot. But my worries were for naught. It was not crowded at all. We had really good weather. I did not take the week off, but I still enjoyed being there. I was working remote-er than I normally work. So they would go out and hang out on the beach for hours or walk and do other things like that. And I would be at the Airbnb that we had rented. And it was like it's a little, not bungalow, but it's like a tiny little house, but it's up on stilts because it's South Carolina near the beach. It was less than a block from the beach, basically across the street through a parking lot of like a condo building. And then there's the beach. So it was really nice. The weather was great. And yeah, I want to do it again, like now.
It sounds fantastic.
Yeah. So in the evening, like in the afternoons or the evenings, we'd get some dinner. But one of the things that we did was it was kind of a mystery in a box called Baker's Dozen. And I can never quite remember, I'll put it in the show notes, but I can never quite remember the group that does it because they've got several. And, the mystery in this case is you are one of the co-producers of a baking show, and the owner / other co-producer thinks that something bad is going to happen. Like one of the contestants, she thinks that they're going to try and murder one of the judges, and because they found all the recipes cut up and in the trash, and like they found some other things like that. And so you basically start with this letter to you from her, and then all this other stuff. So there's like an apron, but in the pocket of the apron is a photo, and there's like a chef's hat, and in the chef's hat is a little letter. And then they've got profiles on all the contestants and profiles on all the judges, and a set of recipes that have been they're not actually cut up, they're in square, like perforated squares that have been torn apart, but one of the things that you need to do is take this big stack of squares and puzzle piece wise just assemble the like 5 or 6 different recipes that the contestant, one for each contestant. You have to reassemble those, and then you have to read them, and you find out there's a cipher on them, so you have to solve the cipher. And so yeah, it was good. It was they say it was like 6 hours ish of investigation. We really did it in about 2 or 3. I say 2 or 3 because we did probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours one night, and then it was getting late, and so we kind of put it to the side, and then it was actually 2 days later when we actually came back to it. But when we came back to it, we had gone out to the grocery store, purchased some poster board and some tape and some markers, and did a whole kind of murder board sort of thing with it.
Oh, nice.
And to solve it. And we ended up finishing it in about 45 minutes to an hour. We were really close when we had stopped before. So, but it was a lot of fun. And I am definitely going to pick up another one of theirs that they have out there. They even have a sci-fi themed one as well. So
sounds
pretty cool. Yep.
I've never played that sort of like that type of game. So it sounds interesting.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know if I can get my whole family into it, but it sounds cool.
It was kind of sort of an escape room in a box, but not quite.
Right.
You're solving a murder, not trying to escape a room, but a lot of the puzzles are similar. And I probably wouldn't normally get, like, my wife had gotten it for me for Christmas, and it took this long for me to be able to get the family to play it because, I have teenagers and everybody goes in 5 different directions and there's only 4 of us. So yeah, but everybody enjoyed it. So I think if we get another one, it'll be much easier to get the family back together to play it.
Very cool. And, taking them, 13, 14 hours to another state.
Yeah.
Good way to get them to play it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they had a laptop and the Switch, but really not a whole lot of outside distractions that they normally would have at home.
Right.
The other thing, I actually just got this today, is You Can Do Anything, Magic Skeleton by Chuck Wendig and Natalie Metzger. Yeah, the subtitle on it is Monster Motivations to Move Your Butt and Get You to Do the Thing. And I would consider it a coffee table type book. Each page is basically, each spread of pages is a inspirational quote. Most of them were ones that Chuck had put onto Twitter.
Okay.
and some of them may have been cleaned up or whatever, but basically they're like that, and then Natalie has gone and illustrated them. So there's a couple that are good. That are pretty good in here. Actually, there's more than a couple that are pretty good in here. I love her artwork as well. So, and she's a friend of ours. So
yes, but
there's cool artwork that relates to each one, talking about there's one with like a ghost running the robot body of something, and so and part of the quote is, your soul is a ghost piloting a robot made of flesh. And so and what Natalie has drawn with it is pretty amazing. And so earlier today as well, they had a virtual book launch via Zoom, and they talked about the book and how it came about. And it was a good day. So it's a good day for that. Very, very, very cool. And talking about gaming, I picked up for my Friday night crew. I have to get them into it because it's a somewhere around like 10th level-ish sort of adventure. But it was one of my favorite modules to read. I've never actually run it, but Expedition to the Barrier Peaks.
I'm very jealous.
And it's a 5th edition conversion, but also it has 2 or 3 editions of the original module as part of the book. So if you wanted to see how the module evolved over time, and it also has interviews with several of the artists and such who made all the artwork for the game. It was one of the first modules that had an art book that came with it that you were supposed to show the players as they encountered different things.
Like a little bunny sitting on a log.
Yeah.
A harmless little bunny sitting on a log.
Right.
Totally harmless. Nothing could possibly go wrong.
Yeah, ignore the fact that there are tentacles coming out of the log, and the log has a big sideways mouth with very sharp teeth in it.
Seems like you're seeing the glass half empty. I'm seeing the cute little bunny on top of a log.
Hey, we've lost a few too many minions to things like that in the lair.
This is true. This is true.
I'm just being practical.
Smarter.
I'm just being practical. The ones that survive are a lot more cautious. So yeah, I really have enjoyed reading it. One of the other things that I've found when I was reading through it is they point out that this was an Origins module, so it was meant to be run in 4 hours. And yeah, there's no way that I would ever be able to run this in 4 hours. But a lot of the module has huge areas of basically empty space or empty rooms. And that was meant to facilitate running it in a very fast-paced sort of environment. And so the 5th edition conversion actually fleshes out all those rooms and makes it so it's more like a multi-game, multi-night module. So yeah, so I'm getting my current group. I know where I'm going to position this in my world. It kind of fits in with some of the backstory of my world already, and so it should be a lot of fun once they get there. But it'll be a little while.
Yeah, I know I ran it at some point. I can't quite remember when I ran it. I think maybe I ran it in high school. Or maybe it was middle school. Like, I can remember the rampant looting of corpses, looking for different colored cards.
Yes,
because different colored cards got you into different. And I can remember the crazy diagrams. Like, you pick up a laser blaster and you just don't shoot it. You have to roll a series of dice rolls to figure out if you can figure out how to shoot it.
Which look, I haven't compared them directly, but look very, very similar to the Gamma World artifact understanding chart in like 2nd and 3rd edition.
Gotcha.
So it's got a lot of shared DNA.
Yeah, and I think that was also like the first appearance of the Intellect Devourer.
Yes.
Spoiler. But
Intellect Devourer
dungeon, so
the Vegimpi, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Oh, yeah, I remember those guys.
Which are in like the Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes for 5th edition now.
Yes.
But yeah, so the Intellect Devourer is that's a big one. Basically, each sort of section vertically of the ship kind of has its own sort of special thing, as far as I've seen. A couple of some of the molds, I think, also come from this module. I don't think it's the brown mold, or if like I don't know. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here. I think the bullet might also come from this module, like the land shark.
Yes, good times. My vague recollections include several characters dying, a whole bunch of laser pistols and laser rifles and other advanced technology, and the players going out into the rest of Greyhawk looking to conquer a kingdom, and then I think we faded to black.
Yeah,
because I don't think we actually got to the point where they got to go like rampaging through the Grand Duchy of Jeff.
Yeah,
or Keel and like just blasting the king. Although, so it makes me think this was definitely a middle school thing, because that sounds exactly what middle schoolers would do if they got their hands on laser pistols.
Right. In fact, there is a thing in the 5th edition thing of basically saying, hey, if you don't want your players rampaging through your world with laser pistols and taking over this crashed piece of a spaceship and making it their base, then we recommend having one of the functioning reactors have a malfunction and have the computer basically, the trope of we did something, the whole place is gonna blow, we gotta run, and so that's one of their solutions for it. I don't know, personally, having laser pistols have to get energy from somewhere, and so having the power packs eventually run out is totally acceptable in my mind as well.
Indeed. But I'll have fun with it.
yeah. I hope to. Like I said, it's going to be a little while, so I got plenty of time to think about it and read it and plan. I'm not going to run the module straight from the book, but it's going to give me. I will use the maps. I'll use the monsters, but I'll adjust things as I see fit. So give it more of a story.
Right. So speaking of the ruins of an ancient world, I hear I see you've been playing Horizon Zero Dawn.
I have, probably far too much. I was actually playing it again
exactly
earlier
my experience.
Today. It has been a really good game. I've really enjoyed it. I picked it up because it's post-apocalyptic, and I love that stuff. And also, it has some elements there that I would like to liberally lift for Dysonfall, because it's just, there's a lot of things in there, and the tone of it really kind of fits with that, with what I'm looking for. So yeah, I've been having Aloy run around all over the map. The version I have comes with the expansion pack as well. And so rather than completing the main quest line, I've actually been doing the expansion pack, which is technically like level 30-ish. And when I started going in there, I was still under level 20. I'm not saying I got very far. I'm now close to or at level 30 now. So I haven't finished either the expansion pack or the main quest line, but I'm kind of slowly expanding both as I go through things. And it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn. So I got that game, I think, on December 29th of 2017. And this is relevant because like 2 days later, I slipped on ice and broke my ankle.
Ouch.
And I then subsequently spent like the next 3 months playing Horizon Zero Dawn on my sofa because it was the only thing I could do. Yeah. So it was my vicarious experience with the outside world because I'm trapped on the sofa having to keep my ankle elevated first with the splint and the cast and the whole routine, right? And so it was like my little like taste of the outside until I could actually get out and do stuff. So I have like mixed feelings. I love the game, but I've just fired it up the other day because I know Horizon Forbidden West is going to be coming out soon.
Oh, right.
Right, and I think it's a PS5 title. I don't think they're going to do a PS4.
It's a completely separate game, from what I understand. So it's not
right, totally. So it's a sequel to the game, and so I never finished it. And so I'm like, okay, I got to finish this game. I got to do the Frozen North expansion. So
it's a pretty like looking at the map, like how big the map is. The expansion really is just an expansion. It's not.
Yes.
It's not another full Horizon Zero Dawn sized game, but it's been fun, and you get new toys to play with, and I don't know if you ever get to upgrade your base spear in the main game, but you do in the expansion.
Yes, you do in the expansion.
So, I have that now.
I will say one of the things that I found compelling about the game, I guess I haven't played that many of these kinds of games. I played a lot of open worldy type things, but was the hunting aspect, right? Like I'm not a hunter. I don't have anything against hunters. Like my in-laws' families, very avid hunters, but in the game, like getting out and being able to like stalk the various
critters,
pseudo critter, technologically empowered critters. Like it was cool. Like it was fun. I understand like scratching that itch and being able to do it virtually was very nice, especially since I had a broken ankle. But the cool, like figuring out the weaknesses of the monsters, figuring out like, I need to level up the tech to be able to counter them in this way, and like learning about them. It felt very organic and fun, and just I don't know, it surprised me.
I will usually end up going with like arrows from, if I can get real close and they're not too tough, I'll sneak attack or convert them, especially if they're part of a herd of some sort.
Gotcha.
But I will often find myself in situations where it's like, that just won't fly. They're going to murder me. And so I'll do things like the trip lines and the dropped basically mines, traps and things like that. And then I will, I'll start, plinking at them and have them run through all the traps and such, and soften themselves up until they get to me. And some of them are big enough that I still have a lot of trouble, after they've gone through all of that. But I see the hunting aspect is really fun, and there's a lot to it that's really good. I love the look of it. It's a beautiful game. And for the most part, the controls are really nice and tight. There's a couple of things that I didn't like about, like one section in the Frozen North suddenly have me doing platforming when in the entire... I never like when
that happens in a game.
There's parkour in the game and like climbing up the side of things, but it's automatic. There's no chance of failure. And then all of a sudden it's like I have to start jumping across these gaps and these bridges, and there's no automatic handhold on the other side. And then if you die, it sets you way back in a couple of spots. And it's like, I'm past that now into the fun part again. I could totally, I would have much rather have had more of a puzzle than jumping across gaps and platforming.
No, I hear you.
Know, they're in fact right after one of those sections, or actually it's a different area, still in the frozen north, but one of the other areas is if you were watching it, you might think it was platforming, but it's a lot more of that parkour stuff. But you have to find the right places to jump and kind of puzzle it out. And then once you do and make the jumps and such like that, it's got the whole parkour, yellow handle. You grab it automatically. And I enjoyed that part a lot more than the let's jump across this moving thing and then die or miss and fall down in a ravine and then have to figure out how to run back all the way up. So, so yeah, it's for the most part, it has not been platforming, which is why it threw me so much today when there was. And I played it 30, 40 hours so far. I got a good chunk into the game before I had to start really platforming. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen or continue to happen. We'll see. In the similar vein, as I said, I was playing. I picked the game up because I was been interested in it for a while, but I also picked it up because I wanted to see and experience it for Dyson Fall and see if there's things in there that were cool that I could take inspiration from, and I have. It just so happens that this coming Sunday, I'll be running a game session for the Sunday group. Half the Sunday group is going, so our normal D&D game is canceled, which means we come back to Gamma World normally. But this is also the same group that said, yeah, we're totally willing to play test this thing, and so I'm gonna try and convert their characters over to Mythic D6 in the way that I'm gonna write it for Dyson Fall. So I've been building mutations and things, and hopefully everything will be ready by Sunday. I need to dedicate some time to doing that. So, and they'll be learning the system this Sunday, but it's a pretty quick and easy system to pick up. I found something in the lair and through YouTube that was really weird. I don't even remember where I found it initially. I think it was on Twitter, actually. It was a group, probably a very small team. They made something called Omega Mart and commercials for it. And it's one video, but it's a whole bunch of commercials, and it's kind of like if Aperture Science ran a supermarket. And it's like, you think it's a commercial for orange juice. It's like if you've had, it's like Omega Mart's orange juice. If you've had if you've had Omega Mart's orange juice today, make sure you call our support line so that we can get you your emergency medical help. And then on the screen is like this pitcher, like you see a person pouring orange juice into a pitcher, but then the orange juice kind of starts growing up in a column out of the pitcher and off the frame of the video. And there's all sorts of other stuff like that. There's stuff dealing with time travel and Thanksgiving, where the turkey mutates, or the ham mutates and things like that. It's 5 minutes of your time. It's well worth watching, and also is kind of in the quirky Fallout post-apocalyptic sort of sense, that also tickles my funny bone there. So that's another one I highly recommend. Couple of last things. My phone died, and so I have a new phone. It turns out that you can accidentally have your phone fall into the bathtub and it will work for a week, but then die later. It was supposed to be rated for a certain amount, but you dunk it in the bathtub. It got dunked in the bathtub, and I had originally had that phone had its battery replaced, so it's entirely possible there was like a little tiny pinhole where some water got through, and then after a week of it sitting in there, it finally found some nasty component, and or not some nasty component. The nasty water found a kind of important component and then killed it. I went to bed one night and woke up and it was dead.
That's so sad.
Yeah. So I wasn't planning on it, but I have a newer phone, which I would think that it would just be like my old phone, but it turns out that they added a lot of new features and it's kind of cool. I think it's the Samsung Galaxy S21, I think it is. It has 3 lenses on the back, which are different focal lengths. So,
right.
when you hit like ×3 zoom, it switches to that lens. So there's an optical ×3, and then you can still go up to like ×50 or whatever, but that's more of a zooming into the image, not actual zoom. So it's been interesting. It's been a good phone. I've liked it. The battery lasts quite a while compared to my last phone. One of these days, I'm going to probably open my other phone and see if it's repairable, but I don't have high hopes for it.
I also just got a new phone because I had an iPhone 7 and it was 8. Well, that's ancient in phone years. It was like 100, and
right.
So I upgraded to the iPhone 12, which I didn't get the Pro, which is the one that's got like all the fancy lenses and everything. But it's pretty nice. The battery, no longer dies. I think we were talking about going camping. I went camping in March. Temperatures got down into the 30s, and I think that just killed the phone. I think that was its last camp out. It's like I give up. It's too much because when I came back, I charge it, and then it would hold a charge until about like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and all of a sudden it's like, no, I'm done. I'm good. Yeah, like 1%.
Got it.
And it was a very old phone, and I needed something better for Philmont anyway, because better battery retention. But it is a bigger form factor than what I was used to, which I was debating whether or not to get the big phone. And this is the most ridiculous reason for it. I have a 1998 Jeep Wrangler.
Right.
I typically keep my phone in the cup holder, and this phone is too big for my cup holder.
Oh no.
But I didn't think that was a legitimate reason not to buy a bigger phone. And I'm glad I did. Like, it actually fits my hand pretty well, and it's very comfortable, but it doesn't fit the cup.
I do have a nice windshield mount phone holder that is also a touchless charger. So that's what I use in one of our cars, and that's really nice.
I've been thinking about that, but Jeeps have very, compared to a regular car, small windshields.
Okay.
And it would take up a not insignificant amount of surface area.
Okay.
If I mounted it there. So I'm still thinking about it. Like, mounting it on the side, like, it might not be too bad, but yeah, definitely an option.
Yep. I've turned more pens. In fact, Natalie wanted some pens from me. Natalie from You Can Do Anything Magic Skeleton. She's a friend of ours, so I told friends that I was turning pens, and she's like, hey, I'd like some pens. And so basically she picked out what she wanted in terms of like the barrel and the style of pen and pencil, and I bought all the stuff, and she just reimbursed me for the materials. So basically it's like, just pay for the materials. I'm still practicing. I actually bought 2 of each because I knew that I might mess something up. In fact, one of them I had a blowout right at the end on one of them, so it was good that I had a second one. But I've still been having a lot of fun with the pen turning, and it's one of those things that's really nice in terms of like, I can, from the beginning to end of doing a pen, if I use like super glue accelerator, I could probably finish a pen in 45 minutes. Usually I'll go and I'll drill out the barrel and I'll glue in the brass insert for it, and then I'll just leave it sit, and then a day or 2 later I'll come back. But then once I come back, it's only about a half an hour until I'm done. So that's why I'm saying about 45 minutes. And so it's a nice project that I can do. They look nice, and they're done. A lot of the projects that I pick up never end. So this is a good way to teach myself it's okay to finish a project every once in a while.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And the last geeky thing I have is I have a Printerbot Play, and it broke, and so I ordered a Prusa Mark III. I don't remember the model number now. but I ordered the Prusa one because Prusa's been around for ages, especially in the 3D printing years. That's a long time as well. And they've just gotten better and better. I've heard great things about their customer support. I know people who have them. They are more expensive than some of the others that are out there, but the fact that it just works and has good tech support is, and they have their own slicer that they're continually upgrading as well. And that's the software that is used to take the model and send it to the printer. Overall, they're, from what I've seen, is a great company, and I would rather support them than get a knockoff. And so unfortunately, they have a lead time of like 11 weeks right now. So in about 3 months, I should see it. So in the meantime, I was like, all right, I've tried like 4 times to try and fix my printer. And so I went on and there's a connector that came loose and I couldn't figure out where it went. And there was another physical problem with the printer. And so I spent about an hour and then lo and behold, my printer starts printing again. The same day I make the order. So it seems fine. The problem is that I don't like messing. I like tinkering, but I also like it to work. And the Printerbot Play, when it was working, worked 100% reliably for a long time, and then it started getting flaky. And so this is something that I've kind of wanted to do anyway for a while. It never really worked 100% after we moved. So this is one of those things that it was time to get a new one. It's kind of like when your car's going bad or your dishwasher's going bad or whatever. It's just, it may still work, but it's not great. Right. It leaves food on it on the dishes or something. And so it was just time to replace it. I am going to try and still tinker with it occasionally, but I will have another machine that will print reliable parts for this machine. So if I do upgrade it, it can be 100%, and I can have 2 printers. And if I don't, and I want to build my own, I can still take this one apart and use all the parts from it in a new printer as well. But
and then you can have the printers build a 3rd printer, and then that printer build a 4th printer.
Yes. Well, this is technically this printer will technically be my 4th printer. Yeah, I won't go through the timeline here, but yeah, I kickstarted something and it never showed up, and so I bought part. I just said I wasn't going to go through the timeline, and here I am going through the timeline.
We get it.
Yeah.
Printers.
Yeah. So, but all of them up to the Printerbot Play were all kits and self-assemble, things that I assembled from buying my own components for them. And the Prusa is a kit, but it's got everything, and it's got the tech support. So, really looking forward to that in it's April right now. It's probably going to be like June or July by the time it gets here. So that is it for me for this. We actually had that break between episode 15 and 16, so there was a lot of stuff.
Indeed.
I don't think we didn't have a main topic last episode, but I don't think we have a main topic this episode, just because we're still just catching everybody up.
Yeah, sadly, it's been a busy spring.
It has,
and it's going to be a busy summer.
Yeah, in good ways.
We'll get back to a main topic eventually.
Yeah. So, thanks everybody for listening. If you have feedback, we definitely love feedback. Since most of our episodes are not yet out, we haven't gotten any feedback yet, which is understandable, but we will love it when we finally do get it. And we'll put it in a very special room in the lair. We'll also read it or listen to it. You can send that to us at podcast at lairofsecrets.com or via Twitter at Lair of Secrets. You can also visit lairofsecrets.com and leave us some feedback, topic ideas, or your own thoughts on what we've talked about. So thank you and have a good evening.